Hello and welcome back to Humble Not Timid, where we try to have real conversations with fearless perspectives. We try to give everybody a place for their opinion, their voice, just like anywhere else. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Congressman Jasmine Crockett, okay, Texas Democrat attorney and rising political figure. Okay, she's been making headlines lately, going up against Trump and his administration. She she is fearless when it comes to opening her mouth and speaking, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to see on whether or not she is an actual Democrat, a politician for the people, or if she's just another person out here trying to get a piece of power. You know what I'm saying? While they have the whole divide within the Democratic Party right now, you got a lot of people trying to vie for that spot, try to be the new leader. And whoever gets the crown, they're going to hold the crown for a long time. With Obama and them going out, and kind of in the you know, crash and burn type of thing, along with Biden and his administration. A lot of Democrats right now are trying to step up to fill the shoes and fill the holes. So what we're going to do is in this episode, we're just going to take a look at Jasmine Crockett. Been seeing her in the news a lot lately. So, even with the President Trump himself mentioning her name, we're going to go ahead and we're going to see. Is she a champ or is she a chump? Now, while many of you already know where I stand at here on a lot of these issues, here at Humble Not Timid, we really do. We don't want to live inside a little vacuum and just stick within our own ideas. We want to listen to other people, give them a chance to speak. Okay. Now, whether you agree with her or not, she's not going to be quiet, and I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into this. Jasmine Crockett, champ or chump? Thank you. And then once again, welcome. Like, subscribe, comment, share on the videos. Humble Not Timid. Another voice, another choice.
And, I have my prepared remarks, and we're going to get to them at some point. But there was a lot that was said, including the fact that Delaney Hall is something that was opened up under Obama, and seemingly the mayor at the time did not have issues with Delaney Hall. I can tell you that there was a point in time in which Alcatraz was open as well, and there seemingly weren't any issues. The fact is, as the mayor of any city, I want to be clear that there is a duty, and that duty is to make sure that any and every building that is opened in that city is up to code. So just because something may have been up to code in 2008 doesn't mean that in 2025 that it was up to code. And there are those that should respect the authority of the city in which they are operating in. And somehow, during the later hours of last night, we saw that while the mayor had been unlawfully charged, those charges ended up being dropped. The mayor of the largest city in the state of New Jersey was charged with criminal trespass. Now, we have video footage, and I'm not going to play it, but we have video footage of literally them opening the gate and then asking him to leave, and then he left. Therefore, there is no criminal trespass. But the reason that I bring it up is because this entire situation could have been avoided if people just would know their jobs and actually do their jobs. Because the entire chaos that ensued, it ensued because of the unlawful detainment and arrest of the mayor in the first place. But let me get to my actual remarks. The Republicans have called today's hearing for one purpose: to help an administration that's already rooted in lawlessness and corruption execute their dangerous assault on American democracy. So in today's hearing, you'll hear them admonish their own congressional colleagues and excuse the behavior of the out-of-control, corrupt Trump administration. They're going to try to convince you that they're here to protect law and order and the rule of law. But they won't mention how the Trump administration is openly defying many of the 162 court rulings that have paused his illegal executive orders. They won't talk about how the president has called for the impeachment of judges who rule against him, or how they're allowing ICE agents to raid churches and elementary schools. They won't talk about how they're
Now, that little clip right there, that comes from a hearing that they had that Jasmine Crockett attended and was part of. Now, it all stems from a tense incident that happened outside ICE Detention Center in Newark. And that was where McClever was charged with assaulting police officers, well, ICE officers, should I say? Okay, and this was during a protest. Okay, now off the subject a little bit, I do understand, they ran up on there. They do have the authority to go in there and do the oversight, but at the same time, too, though, they brought a whole mob to do the oversight. That wasn't a simple oversight request. That was more like a protest, and it was more of a let's run up on them and make a scene type of deal. That's what I truly believe, but that is what it is. But what today's episode is about is we're here and we're going to discuss Jasmine Crockett and whether or not, she gives good points or not. Now, she articulates herself very well, and she speaks, she's a highly educated woman. For anybody who doesn't know, I know that they try to play her off as, oh, she ghetto and then she this and she that, but she has a bunch of education. I really honestly find it very disingenuous whenever she does try to play the ghetto girl role, because you black, yeah, but that don't mean you got to be ghetto because you black. Okay, you're educated. You understand. You didn't grow up in the hood. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of the judgment of what we're gonna see and whether or not she's for real or she's not. But it is what it is. But in that hearing, though, you see her remarks right there, and that was just her speaking about part of how she feel about Trump's administration and how they did McGlover. Okay, and then you had the mayor in that incident, Ross Baraka. He actually got arrested, and then they dropped the charges. Now, whether or not that's right or not, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna leave that for another debate and another time. But right now, we're going to go ahead and we're doing the report card on Jasmine Crockett, whether or not you feel she's a champ. Is she a champion for you, the people? Do you feel she's speaking for you? Or is she just a chump? You know what I'm saying? Just another Democrat that's out here trying to push her part of the business. But she's made many, many remarks. She's done many things out there. And
the January 6th insurrectionist. They won't talk about how this administration is preparing to give $5 million to the family of Ashley Babbitt, who participated in said insurrection, because they don't actually care about law and order and the rule of law. They're here today for one reason: to forfeit their constitutional oversight responsibilities. But since I decided to bring up January 6th, let me run a tape to remind y'all of the difference of congressional oversight versus criminals.
We're here conducting an oversight visit, which we had the power to do as congressional members. Statutory authority, and so that is what we're here for, and we're waiting to speak to a supervisor to let us in here because stand up for our mayor.
We will be your eyes and your ears, and we will report to you, Mayor.
Yes,
It's interesting that one set of behavior somehow is going to get a family rich overnight. And the other folk that were there in that video, the members of Congress, well, they're saying arrest them. Let me remind you that those January 6ers have been pardoned. Let me remind you that yet another January 6er was just arrested a few days ago for committing what? Another crime. So if we're gonna talk about us keeping our streets safe, let's be real about who's causing crimes, who actually went through what we call due process, because no one denied the January 6th insurrectionists of their due process. They went to court, they either pled guilty or were found guilty, and they were sent to prison, and half of them, actually all of them, if their sentences said so, should still be in prison. Because we as Americans would be safer.
Now,
we won't.
You see that clip right there, right? It makes me laugh though, because okay, so if you watch the whole hearing and everything, so I watch the boring things for y'all, so y'all don't have to sometimes. But if you watch the whole hearing there's a point in there where she sat there and she said that they have, she said, I have a footage of the mayor peacefully leaving, but we're not going to show that. And then she determined, and then she goes on through her little speech, and then she decided she wanted to play the January 6th clips, right? But then she wants to juxtapose them to the little few clips that she edited out of the Congresswoman and the mayor and all that. and then say, you know what, one's peaceful, one's not. Okay. Now, I get it. We're not going to argue whether or not they had the legal right to go do the oversight. We already understand that that is what it is. But at the same time, too, though, it's funny how both sides like to play us. But it's funny how their side likes to play and they edit things as well, because she only shows certain parts that made the Congresswoman look as if they were in a peaceful mode the whole time, when in reality, there's already enough evidence out there that states that it's not. Okay, they have videos of the Congresswoman putting her hands on ICE agents. I don't know exactly. I didn't see the videos of the mayor. I seen when he got arrested. I didn't see like what led to the arrest or whether or not he walked out peacefully or whatnot. But I'm pretty sure there's video out there. But my point is if you had video of him peacefully walking out, why didn't you show that video as well? But nonetheless. But then she comes out and then she says, well, one's peaceful, one's going to lead to a woman, Ashley Babbitt, the only person who did get killed on January 6th. Okay. Getting rich overnight. Now you say overnight, but in reality, we're looking back at what, 4 years, 5 years. Then you're saying that the January 6ers, a lot of them went to jail. Some of them, I don't know, there's stories, some of them allegedly did not have due process. There's a bunch of them that did go to court and they did go to jail. And if they got pardoned, they got pardoned. I mean, some of them spent the whole 4 years in jail. So, that is what it is. I mean, you did jail time. How long do you want somebody to go to jail for those incidents on that day? I mean, come on. You didn't say nothing when Biden pardoned everybody, including Fauci. But, it's a one-sided game. This is why I posed the question of whether or not is she a champ or a chump. Because the reality is are you really preaching for the people? Are you really out there saying that you're for the people? Which is all of us, right? Because they all say this. They all say, well, I'm going to be a president and I want to be the president for the Americans. Okay. Well, at the same token, too, though, I'm an American. I don't agree with all the policies that the Democrats have. I don't agree with all the policies the Republicans have either. But I dang sure don't agree with a lot of the policies that the Democrats have. Okay. So you stated this. Now, if you watched the full hearing, like I said, you may have noticed that something important in the Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett said, and more importantly, what she didn't show. She didn't show the peaceful leaving of the mayor. But she did show certain clips of the January 6th, which were violent clips. I give you that. And then she showed the peaceful clips of the Congresswoman. So you took the peaceful clips of the Congresswoman and took the violent clips of the January 6th and you juxtaposed them to each other so you can push your narrative. But this is the editing game. Everybody's doing it. We're all learning how to do the editing game, right? So this is what they do. But this all goes back down to it. Champ or chump, I'm going to leave it to you to decide. But that's nonetheless either. So she sat there and she says certain things in there backing. This is about that. She goes on later on though, or there's another one where she does. I'm gonna show a piece of this real quick where she's fighting for the man who was getting kicked out of America. Okay, the Venezuelan that got sent back, and they say not by accident, and then they say no due process. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna take a look at that one real quick.
Gentlelady from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I just want to kind of distill down what my colleague, Ms. Jayapal, was talking about, and I am definitely going to yield some time to her. I think our concern is that because somebody says something, that doesn't make it evidence. And right now, what we have is people saying, well, we have evidence. As attorneys, we know that evidence has to be tested in court, and that is what due process really looks like. It's not just saying that somebody is MS-13. It is a matter of a judge determining whether or not that evidence would be admissible and having the ability to look at the credibility of the witness offering that evidence, such as when we're talking about Kilmer. If we look at that, it says I've got a couple of articles. There's an article that says government's case against Abrego Garcia is based on PG County cop who was on the SA's do not call list because he was not a credible witness. The only person that said that he was MS-13 is a cop that ended up being, I don't think he got fired, but he definitely, oh, okay, never mind. He did get fired. So we're gonna say that we're gonna base our entire case, so to speak. This is why we have courts. This is why we are talking about due process, because that's what it looks like. It looks like more than somebody, listen, I can't tell you how many lies are made up by MAGA followers about me. I done been all kinds of things. And none of it is true just because they put it out there on social media. That is the problem that we're having right now in this country, is that it seems like nobody cares about the truth anymore. And what we're trying to do is say we have a fact finding, and let me be clear. I am not saying that the criminal justice system or any other justice system has ever always been perfect. I am not trying to say that. But we do have a system, and that system is supposed to be based upon the Constitution. And right now, like literally due process comes from the Constitution. This should be the highest protections that one can have in the land. And right now, it seems like y'all don't care about the Constitution, unless it's the Second Amendment, and that's misinterpreted as well, okay? There's other amendments to the Constitution. And we don't get to just change it because...
Now, you see her, she's already going to bat for, Rayo Garcia, talking about, it's not evidence, just because somebody says something. Which technically there is a thing, it's called testimonial evidence or testimonial evidence, something like that. I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but you can look these things up, and, if somebody testifies you, it can be evidence, So, and then they go on to say, because the cop that said that he was MS-13 ended up getting fired or whatnot, I would have to look deeper into that. Pretty sure other people have looked into it deeper. But there's so much that said that first of all, whether or not he was MS-13 makes no never mind. Now, they can sit there and they say, he had the tattoos and all that. And now, if you ask me personally, I'm going to say, yeah, I think he was. So he either was MS-13 or he was something else. He nonetheless, he was banging something. You know what I'm saying? People got signs and things that they throw up all day long. You know what I'm saying? And they don't, if you don't know what it means, you don't know what it means. You know what I'm saying? But if you know what it means, then you know what it means. That's the whole point of doing what they do. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole point. That's why everybody throws up the little signs and stuff in the pictures and everything that they throw up, So, is what it is. But at the same time, too, though, to sit there and say that, it's not evidence. Okay, well, the evidence is that supposedly he had 2 hearings where he had already had deportation notices. Okay, so he got sent back to the wrong place. And what? I mean, that's just true. And what? Who cares? Who cares he got sent back to the wrong place? That makes no never mind to us. Now, it happened. Call it clerical error. Call it whatever you want. Makes no never mind. Once he's out of here, he's in the country. He's back in his own country. You can't just sit there and say, imagine if somebody went to Russia. Russia deported, or not even Russia, UK, and UK deported them. And in the deportation notice, it stated that, they weren't supposed to send him back to America. American citizen, got sent back to America. He feared for coming back to America because one gang was going to kill him or whatnot, whatever. Same excuses. And then he gets to America, and then all of a sudden UK say, President, we need to go ahead and get that guy back. He's an American citizen. We don't have to do nothing. So that's just truth about that. But she fight for this, and she say that, as a lawyer, you put the evidence to the test or whatnot. And then she goes on, she starts speaking about the Constitution. What you see, she don't like the Second Amendment, Pay attention to these things. Pay attention to these things. So, because it's interpreted wrong, right? Because everything is up to interpretation. But so she puts up the fight, and she sits there and she says this. But then at the same time, so this is the thing. She sits there and she says these things. And what it does to me is I've been watching her over these past few months and whatnot. She's been coming out. And more, I've been seeing her trying to rise in power. Now, as you see her try to position herself into more powerful roles, I really think that's what she's trying to do. She's going to try to be the next Kamala. On this time, she's gonna try to go for the goal, and she's gonna try to win. I mean, they try to put Kamala all the way up as the president of the United States. Now, well, it's not about all black woman or a woman or whatnot. Look, my thing is like this: is if you're a woman and you want to be a boss, you got to do the thing that bosses do boss things. But at the same, and be smart enough. You know what I'm saying? Show you got some type of brain to actually handle things and do the things. But with that saying, her character comes into question with me. Okay. Now, personally, I feel a certain way about her, but I'm leaving it up to you. Like I said, I want to know. I really do want to know how other people feel, because I come across people every day, all day, as we speak and we talk, and they're like, "Oh man, I should have voted for Kamala. Oh, the Jasmine Crockett lady is good. And all these different things." So tell me why. Why do you think this is the person that should lead us, or the person that should be the Democratic leader, one of them at least? But she said certain things that just throw me off. Like, I'll never forget when I sat there and watched her on The Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Listen, you work for
Eli, yeah,
$8 million.
yeah.
So you got some
Eli,
bread.
listen, no. I had to shut them down, because first they said that I had a husband. No husband, y'all. First they said I had a husband, and they said that I was paying him $500,000 to keep me safe. And people were like, he should be doing that for free. And I was like, I don't know if y'all mix up the black girls or if y'all just think every black girl that comes to Congress brings a husband who has to live off of. That's not what it is, okay?
Right.
No husband, never been married, never been engaged, all right? That's number one. So then they said, well, she's worth $9 million and she's got all these homes. Let me tell you something. When I first got to Congress, about 2 weeks in, there was a case that I had been working for 7 years. It was a civil rights case, one of my last 2 civil rights cases, and I still got one pending. So just so y'all know, if I got to resign, I'm going to resign. But nevertheless, it goes to trial. I'm unable to participate because I'm not supposed to be, but I'm in this wind down period. It actually hits for about $22 million, all right? So ethics says you can't collect your attorney's fee on that at all. Now, mind you, I worked this case before I ever ran for Congress, right? So, like, that gives you an idea of how far they go
So you
when
didn't
it
get that
comes to
money?
the... No, but here's the deal. I would have resigned, and I will resign. No, I'm not finna play with my money. Like, y'all tripping, because I worked on that case for 7 years.
Yep.
It was against a very small city that literally can't pay it. Now, if for some reason they go find the coins, then
resign.
absolutely, I'm resigning, forcing a special election, and I'll win, right? But I do have another one that is pending, and it's pending against the city of Dallas. And the officer in that case actually pled guilty. If the city of Dallas does pay up, you heard it here first. I am resigning, and it will be a 7-figure payday for me because as an attorney, yeah, we do have cases that hit for millions of dollars. It's not really that odd. The thing is that I've always been a bleeding heart liberal. I have. So I was.
Now, first I'm going to say it like this. I don't blame him for quitting to get that money. If I worked on something for 7 years and I didn't get to reap the benefits of it, I'd be mad too. But you see what she said though. The only reason why she ain't worried about it is because they don't have the money to pay. And then the case she got against Dallas, if it hits, she gonna resign. And then this is the thing. So you what makes you think that you can resign, automatically come back, force an election, and you're automatically gonna win? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, like honestly, what? Okay, so if I just quit my job, so keep in mind this, I've seen guys quit their jobs because of child support. So they get that, and they, they're gonna come for their paycheck, and they quit it, but it's still not guaranteed they get to come back right away, if they get to come back at all. Some guys don't get to, they quit, boom, it's done wrap. What makes you think that you automatically just gonna win? You do you know that people favor you that much, or do you know something that we don't know? Do you have some kind of hold that we don't know? So, with all the political atmosphere the way it is right now, this is one of the leading Democrat politicians out there. She's one of the loudest. She speaks the hardest, and it begs the question: champ or chump? Is she your champion, fighting for your rights and for your beliefs? Or is she just a chump, just another person out here who found herself into a position to where she can manipulate things? Now, as far as the money goes, I get it. I get it. You know, you get a 7-figure payday. I'd probably quit too. But at the same time, too, though, how is it you're a congresswoman now, and many of them Congress people, women and men, have gone in there with their little $130,000, $230,000 salaries, and some of them are millionaires and billionaires. So it makes you wonder exactly what game they're playing at. But she's not done though, because she's actually trying to see if she can get a promotion here, and she's trying to run for a new position.
And a lot of people are wondering if you are going to run for ranking member, or do you have your sights set on higher office here in Texas?
I am running for a ranker, for sure.
Oh, you are?
I am running. We are working on pulling it all together, but most likely either next week or before my colleagues get back, they will have what we call a Dear Colleague, which is a letter that they will all receive laying out why it is that I believe I am the best candidate for this moment, for this particular position. I had an opportunity, and
So we see Jasmine Crockett. She's not a woman. She's that's shy of ambition. She's gonna try to get more power. She's gonna try to move through the ranks. You can't say that it's not possible and that other people won't put people in positions of power. It was kind of funny to me, and I look at her history, and she's a younger woman. She's about my age, about 44, and then she's going up against these people who've been doing this for a long time. But her career almost kind of mimics that of Kamala Harris. And you see Kamala Harris, believe it or not, she's not old, but she's older, and she's actually did rise through the ranks, and she got all the way up to vice president. She ran for president, which isn't bad. I mean, that's an accomplishment in itself. Truth be told, that is an accomplishment. Now, I didn't vote for her, and I wasn't going to vote for her, but it is an accomplishment, you know, to even get up there, you know. Mimic a line from an old rapper I knew. I used to like listening to. I say old, but we get old. But Benny Siegel, what he say? He say shoot for the stars, or shoot for the moon. If you miss, chill amongst the stars. So, you know, just throw that in there for y'all. But she's rising, and she's trying to get a new promotion, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to be it. Once she goes from there and she's able to get that seat, she'll go in for another one. Now, is she the type that's going to leave us hanging when the money, or leave the people hanging for the money? Or is she going to actually stick to her guns? She says she's a bleeding heart liberal, which I truly do not agree with. I am not no liberal. But you say that's what you stand for. Convictions, you know, that's the reason why I really do believe the Republicans won, is because you know what, their convictions are just a lot stronger. It is what it is. They stand on what they say, and they say what they stand on. So whether you hate them or you don't, it doesn't make no never mind, because they actually believe in what they're fighting for, and it is a fight. And then they got people like me who are in the middle, who weren't Republican or Democrat, and we look at our life beliefs, our basic beliefs of life, and we lean towards what they say, what they're actually rooting for. There's a lot of philosophical ideas that the left has right now that I just don't agree with. Now, once again, Crockett, she says she's a Christian lady, and I'm not one to judge whether or not you are a Christian or you're not. If you say you are, you say you are. But at the same time, too, though, God knows. It does say in there that, you know what, there will be a time where he says, I did not know you. So there is going to be those that believe that they were Christians and they were not, even if they believe it in their heart. So we all have to be careful. But even with that said, though, she's trying to fight for more power. And the question I have to you in the audience is plain and simple with this short clip today. Is she a champ, fighting for the people, fighting for the right causes, or is she a chump, just taking advantage of all the political holes and the little Swiss cheese and the break aparts, trying to either find her little piece of the pie, make herself a little richer, or climb the ladder and get more power. See exactly how far she can take it. Champ or chump? I'm going to leave it to y'all to make the decision. You let me know, and we'll be back with another one. Thank you once again for joining. Like, comment, and share. Humble, not timid. Another voice, another choice.
Getting mad at me, player, but they ain't taking my place. And I'm a misbreed, homie, so they hate my race. Or maybe I'm just ugly, so they hate my face. Either way it go, homie, take the hating away. Now I'm suited in my armor and I'm just ready to play. So now put me in coach, cause I'm just ready to play. See,